If you've never been to an auto conference, this is the one to start at. If you're sick of auto conferences in general, or you just need something a little different, ASOTU is the place to be, September 11th through 13th. We only have a limited number of tickets, and most of our events have sold out. So
exactly,
we're just saying.
We're really excited, and we just hope that you'll join us because we want to craft something that is for the whole industry, not just for a subset.
Go to ASOTUCon.com, get your tickets now. Yo, it's Monday. We're coming in hot. Actually, I have a little tongue twister for this morning's show. Used car market moves. Movers make used cars and making meals at home. Wasn't as bad as I thought.
It wasn't
as bad as I thought.
But the alliteration, which is another big word, I'm impressed. I'm going to just say I'm impressed. Proud of
I know. You know, sometimes in the mornings when we're making the show, we're like, what is the most relevant thing to talk about today? And really what you have to work with is just what happened yesterday and some other stuff. Like we start like really micro with like, is there anything that's happening right now? And then like, how about like yesterday and coming on a Monday, not a lot happens in the automotive industry over the weekend, you know? So sometimes we zoom out a little bit.
Yes.
So
all
we're zooming out a little
are head down, hands in the dirt. All the industry partners are cars. Like, you know, making brisket or something.
Making brisket. Dude, I don't know.
Texas and Tennessee.
I don't know. It was usually hot dogs, right? Like on the grill. I've never had brisket at a dealership. Unless you work for Patrick Abad, and then he's got like T-bones. He's got like porterhouse steaks on the grill. That's his number one recruiting tactic. Just have steak dinners at the dealership and invite other people over. And you know what? People kind of want to stay.
Some people love steak.
Oh man. Well, look, we are now within 1 month of ASOTUCon. Did you realize that? We are within 1 month. We're going to Philly on Thursday. No. And we're going to be checking out the venue, final pass through, sign companies, AV companies, hotel. We're recording some more Auto Collabs podcasts with Cirillo. But things are so ramping up right now that I'm starting to feel that feeling, you know. Like
I got multiple texts this weekend from dealers, industry partners, people that I know, like, hey, are there still tickets left? Okay, I'm getting tickets, you know, and there's been a lot of energy. There's been a couple of dealers. I'm sharing it out. People are coming. Don't worry. They just haven't bought their ticket. So don't get left in the dust. Please don't because we've already had some industry partners stressing out. And if you're close to the chest, if you're close to the family and you're wanting to come, you got to text us right now because I think we've got like 12 industry partner tickets left. That's it. But we put them behind a paywall because if you're listening to this, we want to make sure that you're there. So, yeah, just make sure you're there. Not a paywall, but
Patrick Abad jumping in the stream this morning. Good steak is just another tool in the toolbox. And by the way,
to get the people with toolboxes into your service department.
Wink, wink. People that work with the toolbox happen to also really enjoy a well-cooked steak. Listen, we got to clear something up. So, you know our friend Patrick. He's an early investor in ASOTU. Actually, I would say Patrick is the one that kind of kicked off the momentum because we were having dinner with Patrick and we were telling him, hey, we think we're going to raise a round of investment. He was like, can I Venmo you right now? And that's when Kyle and I was like, I think we're on to something, right? Like we communicate the vision. But what I really want to talk about today is that we have been calling him Patrick Abad for a really long time. And then like that awkward way where we were so like we have a close friendship, spent a lot of time together. And then somebody said his name's actually pronounced Patrick Abad. And we were like, shut up. No, no. And Kyle texted him and we were like,
so gracious about it. And it is Abad. It is. So
because he's that kind of guy. He's like, I'm not even going to waste the breath because we have more valuable things to talk about. That's just a key to his personality. Since he was here, we just had to talk about that for a second. Exactly. So yeah, if you don't have your tickets, go to ASOTUCon.com. All the sessions are up. We are ready to rock and roll with you. If you are not able to go to the whole event, but you're listening and you're at a dealership and you're able to get to Philly pretty easily on Monday night, we're throwing a huge party that everyone that works in the dealership is invited to, and we mean everybody. So come on in. We have a silent DJ, our silent disco live DJ, karaoke, Nashville's hottest party band, 12 South coming in hot, and the tickets for that are free. And we have an Eventbrite set up for that, don't we? At this point?
Do. We do. If you search "party with the industry," we've got an Eventbrite, and it's ready to go. So if you're getting tickets to the main event, you don't need to go to the Eventbrite and get tickets there.
Yeah, you're already good.
But if you know people close to Philly, shoot them a text, tell them that they can come on in and hang out with you that evening, even if they can't make it to the whole event.
All right, let's talk about some news.
Let's get into it.
Okay, lead story today on automotive news. Many dealers in the midst of a used car business model shift as consumers continue to search for less expensive used cars. Not really a surprise to the ASOTU audience, but they went down and they had a lot of quotes from a lot of the publicly traded companies. Obviously, bigger inventories, they're going to be more vulnerable to shifts and pivots. And also, when you think you have a bigger organization, you have like defined trajectories that usually are going out a little bit further because, you have shareholders you need to keep happy. So you have to have these long plans. And I don't know if you noticed, Kyle, but the plans have had to change a little bit.
Yeah, they have had to change a little bit. And I think that, probably if I had to guess, some of the publics are going to recognize the shifts and changes just a little bit quicker than some others, like a single rooftop in maybe a rural or suburban area. So I think it's just a good trend to pay attention to, that people are seeking out these lower price vehicles. One of the things that I think is also interesting is that when I talk to dealers, that they are moving from like the trajectory of, hey, we don't really have a defined turn. So if you don't know what a turn is, it's how quickly you get rid of your whole inventory. So like, let's say you've got 80 cars in stock and you want to get rid of them. There's two ways to look at turn, either based on the number of days that you kind of say, hey, they got to be out of here, or the number of times per year you could potentially turn those vehicles. So that's what your vehicle turn is. So for instance, if you had 80 cars in stock and you were selling 80 a month, that's 12 turns a year, meaning 12 every month you're turning your complete inventory. And dealers are going from like, hey, it's okay to hold a car for 120 days because we can still get out of it profitably, even on the wholesale market, potentially because vehicle prices are rising. We're starting to see dealers get to a much tighter, like 30 or 45 or 60-day turn, saying, hey, look, these cars have to be gone by then. They're pricing more aggressively, which is also driving the price of wholesale down, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, we were talking actually to Patrick a couple months ago, how he was seeing Carvana bring more and more cars to the auction. So, this has been an indicator that's happening so far, but now we're seeing it on the consumer side that as the Sonic president, Jeff Dyke, said, that they're seeing this demand for a higher payment pre-owned vehicle move down again and not be so accessible. So
yeah,
very interesting.
So, I mean, look, if you're kind of new to the industry, that's a great little lesson in used car management right there. We're going to get into a little more of that in just a second, but let's read off some of the quotes from some of the big groups. So Group 1 Automotive CEO Earl Hesterberg said in late July, he said, we're seeing demand shift to lower price points, and the shift is happening most prominently among middle-class consumers and those buying mass market brand used vehicles. Asbury Automotive Group CEO David Holt said consumers who were impulsively buying 6 months ago are actually a lot more deliberate in their selection today. Jeff Dyke, Sonic's president, who you just mentioned, said that they're seeing demand for vehicles up to 8 years old, and they're starting to include vehicles in EchoPark's inventory, those types of vehicles in their inventory, when previously their whole strategy was just vehicles that are 1 to 4 years old. And he basically cited a $640 per month payment point. And he said that point for a used car, having that payment, the tolerance for that is going away. So now some buyers are actually even getting out of the market. And finally, Penske's standalone used car brand CarShop had a target price of $20,000 for their an average price of $20,000 for their used vehicle stock. But now it's actually all the way up to $30,000 on the average. And they're still choosing to pass on like lower dollar, like $8,000 to $12,000 cars, still considering those wholesale pieces. And also our friend Aaron Ziegler, Michigan dealer, said that the hottest segment used cars right now, from his perspective, are $10,000 to $15,000.
Yeah, we're heading back to the kind of like everybody wants a $300 a month payment.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to start hearing that in showrooms again. You're going to start hearing that in marketing. You're going to see $299 payments being floated around. Just because that's like what that middle class general public typically sees as a target payment. Actually, I was reading something earlier today that banks are kind of sitting on a significant amount of repossessed vehicles, and not releasing them into the market because they understand that it could actually like do something to push the market away from lending. Is that not crazy?
Wow.
Yeah, I read that I gotta
crazy.
find the article. I wish I would have put it up, but that banks are holding onto those cars intentionally
because they don't want to mess
the
with the
lending
market
side on the other side. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's some strategy. So, I mean, the bottom line is this: there are a lot of gains to be made in used cars, right? This doesn't mean there's not a lot of money to be made, a lot of profit to be had in used cars. However, more watchful strategy, more real-time strategy, actually, and a shorter path to decision-making seems to be the key. Now, we happen to host
Speaking
a
of
conversation.
strategy.
Oh, boy.
Stop. Segue.
Time. Strategy is an understatement on that one. Every Friday, ASOTU powers the All Things Used Car Room that David Long hosts and creates. It is where last week we had over 350, I think it's actually over 360 dealers and industry partners have come through the room. And basically the topic was this: I could buy or sell more used cars if ... And there was a slew of who I would say are the top experts of used car buying, selling, pricing, strategy in the industry. Dale Pollock even showed up in the room.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, we get like Dale Pollock and Alex Vetter and these guys all the time popping in that room, and it's not just because it's interesting. Like you hear Dale and he gets in the room and he's like, "I'm just listening. I'm learning." Right? He's alongside of everyone, and I think that there's so much good that comes to that room. Just there were kind of a few things that we want to bullet point out that you should definitely be thinking about this week and really every week that you're operating in your used car business, that some of the operators and prior operators laid out. So things like consistent equity mining, digging into your database, knowing that the service drive is your friend, that finding inventory within your service drive is a big deal. Another one was figuring out how to put point of sale materials and easy to access kiosks in the service drive in the showroom for people to self-service themselves for trade and sale.
That one right there, I was like, I've never seen that in a store. It makes so much sense. People are sitting around.
Man,
I really have never seen that in a store.
The version of this, see, everyone's doing it digitally now and everyone's putting a kiosk and that type of stuff. Actually, back when I was first started in the car business, what our used car dealer did was, and he was actually our used car manager, he was super diligent about it, was there was a big old whiteboard sitting next to the TV in the service drive, and it said, "We are in search of," and then he would write out the types of vehicles, 2000 to 2007, right?
Would he look at the appointments?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, right. Like, I know he would update them 3 times a day, right?
It was dialed in, and what was so dialed in about it is, so think like this was early. I think that they were early. Is a guy named Lee was very, very in tune with the used car manager. And so they would the night before actually look at the appointments that were coming in between 7 and 9 in the morning. And they would write out, they would put like some of the cars that they needed to fill used car spots, but then they would write out what's coming in the appointments. Man. And then Lee was there from 7 to 9. He was like the early version of the service drive worker, right? This is 2009, 10, 11 that I'm talking about right now. And I'm telling you, without fail. Now, we weren't buying cars from the public. We were really just trading up. Buying cars from the public was still a very new idea at that point.
Right. But getting them into something new.
Exactly. But it was I'm telling you, if Lee had 22 working days in a month, 20 of them by 9 a.m. in the morning were like he had a deal sitting on the desk of the used car manager ready to go.
Gee whiz. Yeah. That's a great one. That's old school too.
Just a free story for everybody.
That's an old school. All right, where we are on the list. Next one, appoint a champion. They talked about appointing a champion, someone who really did own the strategy and was the point person. It's interesting to think of how many places don't actually have this, right? It's like this group responsibility. Appointing a champion, stopping turnover. Just stop your turnover, right? It's a very.
I'm gonna go with that's a quality strategy for all units of operation.
That is a universal thing, but there were some good conversations around that. Here's a good one, and Kyle alluded to this earlier. Follow the data on new and rental markers or rental markets as indicators, right?
Right.
So,
and most specifically the rental markets, understanding like the trends within vehicle purchasing, acquisition of inventory, sale of inventory, where
they're reacting so fast.
And not just that, but they are a massive indicator on the volume of available used car inventory in the market. Because even if you're not buying directly from them, the auctions are being filled by these inventory sources. And so understanding the dynamics, especially locally, of how your rental car fleets are being managed by the local rental. I mean, I would make some friends. I would make some serious friends.
Not that hard.
No.
Well, it's not that hard for us. I don't know. Some people maybe are introverts. Nah, used cars managers are people. What are you kidding me? People. What are you kidding me? Call them up. Finally, have a plan and measure the efforts. As simple as that sounds, actually, just writing down a simple plan in 1 or 2 sentences will really change the outcome of how well you can execute if you just measure results as well. What else? The right price, right advertising, the right process. I'm not sure I remember that one. Was that when Dale was talking about it? He jumped in. Either way, if you want to relive that room, like we just kind of gave you an overview and we totally didn't do it anywhere near the justice that was done, go to the link in the show notes, listen to the Clubhouse room, or just open the Clubhouse app and search all things used cars, and it'll be the last room. You can plug it. You can listen to it at 1.5 speed, and you can see who's talking. Literally a treasure trove of used car department ideas, and not just ideas like, hey, let's throw this against the wall and see if it sticks. No, these are people that are actual practitioners doing it every single day, and some of these people seeing it from a very high level with dealers all across the country. Oh, it was Diego. Chris Reeves just dropped into the comments. It was Diego Vargas. Speaking of a treasure trove of information. So look, our takeaway for this one, victory goes to the practitioners, the people that actually do it. Try some new things, be wrong, get closer to being right. And the used car business is always going to be that way. But look, in a world where we don't know about chips and OEM decisions and all that, used cars is the department you can control. So get out there.
Well, Paul, speaking about chips.
Segue
time. See, I snagged that one. Just one little word. Pulled it out.
You like said that. Speaking of, and I was like, where is he going with this one? Go ahead.
Oh man, there's a news story about a grocer in Utah called Marcellus Foods that is focusing their efforts not on a wide variety or expansive list of available foods and food groups. They are dialing in on just about 80 items that are intentionally made around meal prep. Now, what I think, like just anecdotally, what I think is super interesting about this is it calls from like the HelloFresh brand of boxed meals, and then goes, there's still something nostalgic about being in and amongst a grocery store, and tying those two things together for speed and efficiency of being in the grocery store, reduced necessity to make high level or intense decisions, and they are utilizing education to push in and give people the access to cooking and making it fun again, which is like, there's so many dynamics to that type of brand play and that type of intentionality to your consumer base that it's almost hard to list them all.
So they did a good job of listing some things in this Instagram post from their account. You can link it up. Basically, it's up on the screen if you're listening, or if you're watching. If you're listening, it goes like this. They say, do you know that 98% of people prefer a home cooked meal, but only 10% say they love to cook? That's because meal prepping is the worst. Until now, there's never been a real solution. So they're Marcellus Foods, and their mission is to make it easy for everyone, and we mean everyone, to eat well at home. And so they, want you to follow them for expert cooking tips and kind of like the easy way to buy things. That's their secret, right? They only stock the ingredients you need to kind of create. In the article, they called formulas, right? And they're trying to teach you how to be able to like know how to whip up a fresh cooked meal and make it easy. By the way, like their brand messaging is dialed in and they put it all in one Instagram post.
It's unbelievable.
They've been hanging out with Donald Miller, I can tell.
Look, here's the thing. There's such a straight line to vehicle ownership and how a dealership can create quality content that drives people to purchasing and service behavior. I mean, like, I don't want to even spell it out for people because it's such a straight line. The people would be like, well, duh, Kyle. But when you think about like the level of education and the intentionality that they're having around their product and their social media profiles and the way that they are driving people to purchase because they're the educating brand on doing something that you love is right for the picking. Right for the picking. See what I did there? For auto dealers.
We need a little empathetic. It's a little marketing section as we're going to wrap it up here. Empathetic statements make massive, massive impact when they put it in their message in their second line. That's because meal prepping is the worst. Why would you tell people it's the worst? You want them to meal prep. You're developing a whole business around them meal prepping, and you're telling them it's the worst.
Getting people's heads going like this.
They already know it's the worst. The most successful social media post my agency Congruent ever put out started with this. Dealers have been jerking consumers around for years. And the dealers said, well, what if they think it's me? And I was like, they already think it's you.
They do.
You can tell them why you're different. And it blew up. It went nuts. But look, this is all about trying new things. It's all about paying attention. It's all about being a practitioner, which is why we practice doing this every single day. We're like doctors, lawyers, car dealers. We're practicing. So get out there and practice a little.